Hello there. So, oh look, there's a post box right outside my house, pretty good. So I'm just going to take you for a little stroll so you get an idea about my immediate environment. It's something that gives me enormous pleasure to do, take people for a stroll in my new place, and that very much includes what's going on outside, which is what I want to focus on this morning. So while I'm doing this, I've got something else I'm going to do as well. I find it's a rare experience when I can watch something that is truthful and informative and feels really good to watch. So that's what I'm going to share with you. And if you look in the description, you'll find the link to the full film so you can check it out for yourself. And in the meantime, while you come with me on this little stroll, let's just check out these plants a moment. That's lovely. Yeah, so I go on this stroll. I want to talk to you about this film, and one of the really unusual things about it contains film footage from 3 psychology experiments that were done on people a while ago. Now, judging by the fashions that these people are wearing, has to be the 70s. Brought up gruesome memories of me wearing my hipster crushed velvet purple trousers and my blue and white striped platform shoes. Funny things we do. So, the very first film, what we see is a waiting room with all the chairs and the colours they would be in the 70s, and there's a pretty young woman sitting on a chair, and then a man comes into the room when he sits on the chair in the waiting room, and then there is a noise, a sound, and as soon as the sound is made, the woman quickly stands up like she's at attention, and the guy's looking at her and thinking, what? So here we are, this is the high street of where I live. It really is that close. And so that's what happens. Well, he's a bit confused, and then she sits down again, and this keeps on happening, and very quickly he finds himself joining in. The buzzer sounds, she stands up, he stands up, then more people come into the room. And yeah, you can imagine where this is all going, I'm sure you can. What happens is, it doesn't matter how many people come in the room, when that buzzer sounds, they all stand up. So this is like Pavlov's dogs. Pavlov was a research psychologist, and he experienced messing around with dogs. I'm not going to give you that story, look it up for yourself. Pavlov's dogs, Pavlov. It's all about conditioning dogs to be blindly obedient. So now let's have a look at the second film. So the second film, you've got a bunch of people sitting at a table looking at a screen, but it's not a modern screen, it's a piece of whiteboard, and it's got an image on it. There's a whole series of these pieces of whiteboard actually. So here we go. First image is revealed, and on the right hand side there are 3 lines of different lengths. On the left hand side there's a single line, and what these people have to do is you have to choose which of the 3 lines on the right is the same length as the one on the left. Now that's pretty straightforward and simple, you think about it. Can't really go wrong, can you? And what the guy in the experiment doesn't realise is that all the other people except for him are actors. He's the only one that's actually in the experiment, and the experiment is about how he behaves. And so when the first image comes up, he can see which one it is the same. It's number 2. And he calls it out, that's fine. And then the second one comes, another card with the lines in the same way, and one of the other people shouts out first and says it's the wrong one, deliberately says it's the wrong one, right? So he's a bit surprised and he sticks so he can see what it is. Oh, just look at this lovely holly tree. Beautiful berries, lovely leaves, and this is one of the best trees for burning when it's reached that point. It's got really waxy wood, it's great. Right, so as the experiment continues, what happens is all the actors give the false answers, and he very quickly stops giving the correct answer and starts parroting the false answers, just like everybody else. And this is what mind control is, this is what conditioning is, this is what obedience training is, and this is what we see all the time. More and more and more people being conditioned. And she then goes on to give some other examples which are quite fascinating. One is smoking. People are being conditioned to have a certain opinion about that, whether they do it or whether they don't. And peanut allergies, that's something else people are conditioned about. And what has happened is there's been this attitude of compulsion, this attitude of attempting to control what people do and don't do, and taking a tiny minority of people with the peanut allergies and then subjecting everyone to controls. So she goes into this as well, and it's the third film of these people wearing the 70s clothes. It's the one that really gets to you, because what it is, there's a grassy bank and a fence at the bottom, and there's a bunch of people sitting around listening to music, having a nice time, a little 70s festival, whatever it is. So what then happens is a guy gets up and starts dancing, and he's obviously dancing to the music and having a really great time. Now, we're all familiar with this, we've seen it in ourselves, we've seen it with other people. In the days when people used to be able to gather and do such things, well, here's the point of the third one. In this film, the most important person is not so much the person who gets up first, although that is a very important person, but what we refer to as the first follower. The first person who checks out that the guy is dancing, having a good time, and decides to join in. And suddenly, you've got something quite miraculous going on, because you've got these two people having a dance, having a good time. But the precedent has already been set, because there was this one guy dancing on his own, and one person felt minded to join him as a first follower, and so you've got two people dancing, having a great time, and once the first follower steps up the way that guy did, it's only a matter of time, because what then happens is the third person gets up, and once that happens, it's a foregone conclusion. It doesn't take long before the people who are sitting down start to stand up, people from further away in the field start to come over, and everyone's having a really great time. And so we can relate that all to this rather bizarre habit of putting bits of cloth on the face. As a microbiologist, I can tell you that putting a piece of cloth on the face is going to significantly increase your chance of getting actual serious diseases like pneumonia. That's a killer for some people, and that's because of the combination of the breathing and the moisture droplets and the little bits of crap that get caught up in there. And although this face covering doesn't do anything for the viruses, it just fly through like a double-decker bus would do through a football pitch. The bus may be big, but the pitch is so much big you can get 1,000 through there without any problem at all. Right, so here we are now. So this is the back garden, and it gives me such pleasure to see my back garden because there's so much potential here, possible to grow so many wonderful plants next year. Very much looking forward to that. And over on my right hand side got me 2 supplies of wood which I've been able to organise. And as I go down here, I just think about this garden, how it's going to be flourishing next spring. Feels really good. A solid fuel for the fires, and there's the yurts in temporary accommodation at the moment. There's the wood burning stoves, there's a tin bath, there's more yurts, and there's the lemon tree. So I'm just going to sit down there as I finish off this film. So here's the thing. If, like me, you're one of these people that has made your clear choice that you don't want to, you're not wearing a face covering and that's how it is, then you'll have been through the whole journey, and at first it will have felt uncomfortable to be doing something different from the herd. And think about the first 2 psychology experiments. Being inside the herd feels safer, it feels a bit risky to do something that the other people aren't doing. But when we think of that third film, the point is, it only takes one person, and that's me, and that might well be you, to do what we know is right, because we are still capable of thinking, and we do know what is healthy and what is not healthy. And so we make the healthy choice that at the moment other people are not able to make because of coercion. It's like in the first film when the young woman stands up when the buzzer sounds, the second guy, he's just standing up. Pretty girl, buzzer, I just better do what she's doing. And all the people that come in doing all the same thing. You know, the second film, guessing the length of the lines, and at first he gives the right answer, and it's not long before he's giving the wrong answer every time, just like all the paid actors are. So we all know about this human tendency to cave in, to bend the knee, to violate what we know is our own truth. And it only takes one to stand up, and once that person stood up and they know what they're doing what's right, it is inevitable that at some point someone else will see that and think, we all know what it feels like to wear something on our faces. When I was in Tenerife for the 6.5 weeks from departure out of this country to travelling back, I was doing what everybody else was doing in that society. So I'm speaking from experience. I've been the guy that stood up because the pretty girl stood up because of the buzz. I've done all that, and I remember very keenly how it felt, and what it did to my psyche, what it was doing to my soul, and what it was doing to my body and my respiratory tract. And when I chose to let go of that, it felt so good. And so the invitation is to choose to be the first follower. If you see someone not wearing a face covering in a location, you can make that choice too. And just imagine how supportive you are being when you do that, and how encouraged and happy that person would be, the only one that's doing it, and you become the first follower, and you're both doing it together. You've got solidarity. And imagine what happens as you both walk around the location, feeling good, smiling, chatting away whatever it is that you're doing. Once you've done that, the rest is just a matter of time. So I'd like to leave you with that really cheering thought. I strongly do recommend you watch the film, because she's got wonderful insights. When people call themselves amazing in the title, being British, I tend to think, is it warranted? It most emphatically is warranted. She is amazing, the maker of the film in the link. So thank you very much for coming with me on this little walk, and I'm just finishing with this beautiful plant in my next door neighbours, which is just giving me literally sunshine every time I step outside. I see the lovely colour of this plant. Thank you very much indeed. All the love. Be true to yourself.